words in papers, words in books, words on TV, words for cooks, words for comfort, words for peace, words to make the fighting cease, words to...
Welcome to the world of Wordaholics. Hello, I'm Gyles Brandreth, and this is Wordaholics, the show all about words. Those magical things that over the years have been employed in such beautiful lines of poetry as, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? I wandered lonely as a cloud. And my humps, my humps, my humps, my humps, my lovely lady lumps. Joining me today in our little support group for lexical obsessives are four people whose recovery is still much more than 12 steps away. They are Lloyd Langford, Natalie Haynes, Robin Ince, and Milton Jones. We have four expert Wordaholics here, so let's find out a little more about their various addictions. Lloyd Langford, Welsh stand-up comedian and writer. I have to tell you, I've always wanted to be introduced to the pleasures of the Welsh tongue, so I hope you're going to oblige. Lloyd, what is your favourite Welsh word?
Well, it's one word in English, but we don't mess around in Wales, so we actually use three words for it, and it is buwch goch gotta, and that is Welsh for ladybird, and the literal translation is small red cow.
Well, if we were giving points already, you'd have scored one, because that's fascinating. Sitting next to Lloyd Langford, we have our resident classicist and comedian Natalie Haynes, every inch the unthinking man's Mary Beard. Natalie, you're one of the judges of the 2013 Booker Prize. What do you think would be the best word with which to begin a novel?
Well, I have to read, I think it's something like 140 novels between the time of recording and, I guess, about August or something like that. So, to me, speed is kind of the essence. So I'm going to say the best opening word for a novel is probably go! And that would really get me going.
Next, we welcome comedian, campaigner, and host of the Book Club and the Infinite Monkey Cage, Robin Ince. Robin, your love of all things rational and scientific is almost supernatural. Can you tell us your favourite word from the rich and varied language of science?
It's quite a hard one, because I think my favourite is panspermia. Because pans, and that is exactly the reaction I hope to get from your face, Gyles Brandreth. Listeners at home, you may stretch all the muscles in your face to impersonate Gyles Brandreth now. Panspermia is the idea that really from out of space life may come. That as we see things that travel through space, the seed of life, it of course doesn't explain life, but that perhaps life might have started on Earth from a comet hitting it, or indeed perhaps, Curiosity landing on Mars. Perhaps there are elements there of something we've left on it that may start life on Mars, but that's panspermia.
Panspermia. Wonderful, eh? Rings my Tinkerbell. And finally, Milton Jones, pun master general, named, of course, after not one but two of England's greatest writers, John Milton and Bridget Jones. You are famous for your pithy one-liners. What's the shortest word you reckon you can get a laugh with?
Shortest, maybe even one letter. Sometimes a single letter H can attract helicopters. Has to be a big one. Hours I spent watching that hot tap.
Well, let's get on, because there's no time to waste, other, of course, than that of the audience here. Our first round is our letter of the week. So will you please go politely bonkers as we welcome this week's letter, the letter W. And the hopes of a nation rest upon this plucky letter as she enters the arena. Those years of preparation, all those sacrifices, all to prepare for this moment as the letter W steps up to the uneven bars. Just look at the poise. All straight lines and acute angles, never wavering. She pauses to receive a kiss from Lord Coe, in many ways more delicious than a gold medal itself. She's a warrior. She's a winner. She's really rather wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, the letter W. Lloyd Langford, I'd like you to tackle our first W question. Can you tell us what is the meaning of Welsh cricket?
I know this. Welsh cricket is essentially any outdoor fight where the assailant is armed with a stick or samurai sword or baseball bat. And the aim of the game is to try and remove the bat from the assailant before he incapacitates your team with it, usually by throwing several glass bottles in his direction. So I'll use it in a phrase. I was going to go home because they've just called last orders, but I've noticed a game of Welsh cricket has just kicked off in the car park. So I think I'll stick around and watch that until the pigs arrive.
Wrong. No points for that. Let me give you a hint. It's not a sport.
Well, a cricket is an insect as well, isn't it?
Ah, it is an insect. Can you get what kind of insect it is?
Well, I guess it's an insect that is common to Wales.
I'll tell you. Welsh cricket comes from the late 1500s, and it's, I guess, from the insect, the cricket, because a Welsh cricket is a louse. It's appalling, because there are lots of derogatory terms using the word Welsh. A Welsh comb is to use your fingers to brush your hair. A Welsh carpet is a floor of bricks.
Are you just making these up to insult me?
No, and there is also that mysterious object whose purpose has long been forgotten, now known as a Welsh assembly. So there you have it. Welsh crickets are a form of vermin, spread disease, and are generally considered a menace, but on the other hand, they do chirp in beautiful, close harmony. So, Natalie Haynes, now a W for you. What would you be wearing if you donned a pair of whistling breeches?
Are they the breeches part is trousers?
Yes, indeed.
So some kind of trousers that makes a noise.
Correct. You're very close. You're going to get some points already.
Is it cords? They make a noise when people wear them.
It
right?
is cords.
Oh, come on!
I'm going to give you full marks. I think you've got that. Well done. You're absolutely right. It is an item of clothing. Whistling breeches, a term that comes from the late Victorian era. It actually means corduroy trousers, based on the fact that they're supposed to make a whistling noise when you move. Corduroy was first invented in France in the 17th century, when it was known as corde du roi, rope of the king, as it was thought to look like velvet ropes. Nowadays, of course, likely to be known as les trousers du geography teacher. Now, Robin, let's come to you now, still with W. What do you think would be the area of expertise of a water scriger? It's one word, water, followed by S-C-R-I-G-E-R, water scriger.
I think I know what this is. I think it is someone who, in the same way that people used to sometimes use the innards of animals to work out whether it was going to be a good crop or a bad crop, etc., I think it was someone who would test someone's water and go, oh, you've not been well.
You get full marks. Completely correct. Robin, we found this term in our favourite old dictionary, Francis Gross's 1811 Dictionary of the Vulgar Tongue, and it's an 18th century term. A water scriger is a doctor who diagnoses patients by inspecting their urine.
Yeah, like a sort of medieval Gillian McKeith.
Absolutely, yes.
Do you want to know the word for reading the future from someone's entrails? From an animal's, it is a haruspex, as the soothsayer who reads entrails. And in the plural, haruspicase. Mm.
What? I could read someone's future from their entrails. I'd say to them, you're going to have a bad day.
Natalie and Lloyd, you're going to get a little bonus there, but the points are going to Robin. Milton Jones, I'd like you to find the W word that's missing in this archaic saying. You cannot make a what go with a pair of bellows. What's the what?
Well, I would have said a fear of bellows. Or an insistence on only one bellow. It has to begin with W, so something big beginning with W that requires air, wind, storm, mill. Thank you. Yes.
With a little help from the audience, you get full marks. Congratulations, Milton Jones. Now, this is a saying whose earliest citation comes from 1640 and certainly hasn't been cited anywhere recently. It's thought to have been coined by George Herbert, and it runs, you cannot make a windmill go with a pair of bellows. Of course, this does depend on the size of the bellows and the relative size of the windmill. In fact, a plan to erect an 80-metre-high windmill with a pair of bellows 780 feet in diameter is a big part of the Liberal Democrats' alternative energy policy. The next round is all about toponyms. These are words and phrases that derive from the names of cities, towns and countries. Like, for example, Chinese whispers, which, as we all know, are those delicious, bubbly chocolate bars dripping with hoisin sauce. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Toponyms of the Pops. Greetings, toponym pickers. Natalie, we're going to start with you. We'd like you to go first, and we're whisking you to the northeast of America. Can you tell us what's meant by the term a Bronx cheer?
Actually, I think I can, although not, because once upon a time I did play gigs in New York where I suspect this hails from, but I think it's part of their trademark lack of enthusiasm, let us say, in the Bronx. Not just for me, in general, just to clarify, but I think a Bronx cheer is it a raspberry? Something
It is, correct. You get full marks. As the dictionary has it, a Bronx cheer is an unvoiced lingolabial trill. In other words, a raspberry. It's known as a Bronx cheer after the notoriously loud home fans who would jeer the referee at Yankees Stadium. Now, if a Bronx cheer spreads gradually around the stadium like a Mexican wave, I suppose we'd call that a raspberry ripple. Robin, you're up next. What do you think is the meaning of Canterbury Pace?
I'm thinking the Archbishop of Canterbury.
There is a religious dimension.
Oh, I know what it is. Yeah. It is the incredibly slow advance, politically, of the Anglican Church through the 21st century.
This is not that kind of programme, but you get a bonus nonetheless. But you're right, we're going on a pilgrimage to Canterbury. I'm giving you a little clue there.
OK, so it is the speed in which one would travel by horse.
You're getting closer. What is a Canterbury Pace?
The Canterbury Pace is the speed of a pilgrimage.
It is indeed. The Canterbury Pace, you get the points. It's the standard speed at which one rides by horseback on a pilgrimage to Canterbury. The term we still use, but shortened to canter. There was also a Canterbury Gallop, which is a little faster, and a Canterbury Trot, which is slower. And when a horse stops running and tells bawdy stories to its neighbour, it's known as the Canterbury Tales. Yeah. But almost full marks there to Robin. He sort of inched his way towards it. Milton, you're next up. What would you be sporting if you were wearing a Newgate fringe?
Would you have some kind of local arts festival on your head? Or...
The Newgate Fringe, the world's most depressing arts festival.
Or would you have just tried to get a haircut by lying underneath a newly installed gate and opening and shutting it? Or...
You get a bonus for your visual imagery. Where's the Newgate here?
It's Newgate where they used to hang people.
Correct.
Right, OK, so...
So combine that with the fringe element.
Fringe, so hair in a place where it shouldn't be.
You're almost there.
At Bald Club. Or Newgate fringe, so chin.
Chin, but...
Oh, beneath the chin.
Beneath the chin.
Oh, I see, you're hanging.
Exactly, with quite a lot of help from me. A Newgate fringe is a beard worn below the jawline, named after, of course, the famous jail, because it followed the line where the hangman's noose would be fitted when you were about to be hanged. Not to be confused with those tiny goatees, which just make you look like someone who should be strung up. Lloyd, what would you say if I offered you a couple of bath chaps?
I actually met some lovely chaps once in Harrogate's Turkish bath. And they were all naked, and I had my trunks on. They looked at me as if I was the weird one. They were sort of involved in a sort of Mexican standoff.
Well, we're picturing that while waiting for the answer.
There's something about it being Harrogate as well. I don't know why I don't like thinking about naturism as much in Harrogate. I don't like thinking about it at all. But there's something about Harrogate. There's something about thinking about being in Betty's tea rooms. Clumsy people eating Freudian eclairs.
I wasn't in the tea rooms, I was in the baths.
No. saying that it conjured up many images. I was taking, it was after the bath, you'd taken your trunks off now, you went to Betty's tea rooms, you thought, I can't have a croque monsieur. If that comes out the end of the sandwich, that's the end for me. I'll have an eclair, Freudian, Jungian. I'm sorry, wrong time slot, you're right, this is far more 11
You're
o'clock
quite right, no, it's most intriguing. It's In the Psychiatrist's Chair meets the British Bake Off. I'm going to give you a clue, Lloyd. If you were hungry, it could be something you could pig out on. Bath chaps, what are they?
Oh, well, maybe chaps is a sort of mutation of chops.
It is.
So, some sort of pork thing. Like, I'm wondering whether to go face chops or...
Stay on the face, this is a family programme.
They are cooked pig cheeks, specifically from Bath.
Full marks, Lloyd Langford. Congratulations. Bath chaps are a tasty way of serving pig's cheeks, first developed in the city of Bath. The meat is cured. Unfortunately, by that stage, the pig is way beyond curing. Then covered in breadcrumbs and rolled into a cone. The word chap is a variation of the word chop, which in the 16th century used to mean the jaw of an animal. They used to serve these cheeks or chaps at my local and very inexpensive fish bar. I went there last with a mischievous carpenter friend of mine, but time was against us and we had to rush our food. I ate a cheap chap with a cheeky chippy, chop chop and a chip chop. My verdict, disgusting. Lastly, in this round, teams, can you come up with some toponyms of your own? Take a place name and tell us a meaning that it really ought to have. Natalie?
Dundee, which should mean the feeling of satisfaction that you get when you've finished reading the first 4 volumes of an encyclopedia.
Couple of good bonus points there. Robin, how about you?
Well, there's Bletchley, which is the face you make when you sniff milk that you are uncertain of.
Well done. And you get a couple of bonuses there. Let's see, who should we go to next? Lloyd, can you add to our collection?
A lower-stoffed leg saver. This is another term for a mobility scooter. You need to have been to Lowestoft, really. They sort of have mobility scooters like London has Boris bikes. Seriously, it was like the chariot scene from Ben-Hur, but for the feckless.
I like it. You two get a couple of bonuses. Well done, Lloyd. Finally, Milton, tell us a toponym.
Well, apparently you can contact a Scottish dead person with a Glaswegian board. And Lloyd mentioned Lowestoft. Apparently there's a very clingy woman in Lowestoft called Suffolk Kate.
Superb and surreal, and you get bonus points for that, which means all that tip-top toponymy. What does it look like? Oh, my goodness, it's looking very close. Natalie Haynes and Lloyd Langford, though, are just behind our leaders at this point, Milton Jones and Robin Ince. Clichés are like bad masseurs. They really rub you up the wrong way. This next round is called Cliché Corner and is all about trying to rejuvenate some of those tired old phrases that we really should have knocked on the head many moons ago. I'm going to give each pair a cliché to breathe fresh life into. Lloyd and Natalie, can you reinvigorate? Don't count your chickens before they're hatched.
Don't make a programme implicating a former Tory politician in a child abuse scandal until first properly checking your facts.
Robin and Milton, how would you artfully rephrase this cliché? An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
An apple a day is, frankly, highly unusual in this current and unpleasant world of fast food, and therefore I would stretch that to an apple once every 3 or 4 weeks is at the very least a gesture.
How about an apple a day keeps William Tell's son nervous? Or awareness of the ingredients of fizzy drinks keeps Dr. Pepper away.
An apple a day does keep the doctor away, but then, in eating an apple, Eve betrayed the wishes of God and brought sin onto all mankind.
Very good. At the end of the day, when all's said and done, that is the end of the cliché round. Disapprove, despise, dislike, resent, loathe, abhor, abominate, and detest was the review I got when I published my own thesaurus. Of course, there are also words that play a part in our next round, because this is the moment where the teams nominate words that they simply can't stand. Milton, tell us a word that you've had enough of.
Ferris wheel, or Ferris, if you like, because my grandmother had a very bad experience. She got her scarf caught in a Ferris wheel. But she did regain consciousness, because what goes around comes around.
Lloyd, what word has you frequently vomiting in anger?
Well, it's more of a phrase than a word. Totes increds. It means totally incredible. I think something either is incredible or isn't. The totally is redundant. When I was a kid, totes, they were a sort of sock. They were a sort of stopgap between not wearing anything on your feet and wearing slippers. And they were good, but not impossible to believe.
I didn't understand everything you said, but I felt there was some quality lurking there, so a point is certainly going to be given. Natalie, give us another word that finds no favour in the Haynes household.
I'm like Lloyd going for a phrase, which is anytime anyone ever says, brackets, politicians and on the news particularly, fit for purpose, when what they mean is fit for its purpose. I'm just saying, if you haven't got the energy to add one syllable, you have, as far as I'm concerned, relinquished your right to speak on the subject at all. At all. It's exactly like people who sign emails with bst instead of best. I'm just saving that extra energy that would have taken me to put a single vowel.
I'm going to read over the emails I send you more carefully.
Well, you're Welsh. Of course you're going to not bother with one of the vowels.
Now, Robin, we know that jovial bonhomie is your default setting.
That was like a knife to the heart.
Are there any words that puncture your mellow exterior?
I'm going to give you a few. Chillax, but I think that was chillax is just nothing. Demographic. The fact that people will go, well, that's already part of our demographic. Demographic gets overused all the time. I once did a show where I wasn't allowed to use the word curmudgeon because I was told that their demographic wouldn't understand it. Also, ontological. Anyone who says, well, of course, when one looks at it from an ontological perspective, I'm not listening anymore, you're making this up. Me. Just the word me. Far too many people go, well, the thing about me is me. Less me's in the world as well. That's just the start, Gyles. I'm going to stop there. It's not one of these shows that lasts as long as an Andy Warhol film about the Empire State Building.
Can I tell you that our demographic would like all that? You're getting full bonus points. Well done. And let's look at the score where, Milton Jones and Robin Ince have moved a little bit further ahead. Congratulations to them. Though many words become mainstays of our parent tongue, others are more transient and fall out of use. Who now remembers such beautiful words as ludibrious, sanguinolency, or cowabunga? This round is called New Words for Old, where our panel are going to be faced with out-of-use words from an out-of-print dictionary and invited to figure out what they might have meant. This week's dictionary comes from the mid-1970s. It's the frighteningly titled A Dictionary of Australian Colloquialisms by G.A. Wilkes. Lloyd Langford, I want you to go first. Can you tell me what an Australian of days gone by would have meant by a knit-keeper?
Is it the owner of the world's most underwhelming zoo?
I'm going to narrow the field with a multiple choice for you. A knit-keeper, is it A, a criminal lookout, B, a car park attendant, or C, a barber?
A barber? I would say that was probably outside of their remit. I think you keep a lookout, so I think it's the criminal lookout.
It is. It's A. A knit-keeper is a lookout, someone who keeps watch while a crime is being committed. Natalie Haynes, we have a Wizard Oz word for you. What would our cousins down under mean by the word trammy? T-R-A-M-M-I-E.
Surely that's a man who waits till the weekends when his wife's gone out and then dresses up as public transport. And then she comes home and finds him in his big bus costume.
No, this is not the world of the transvestite. I'll give you some options. A trammy might be a tram station, B, a tram conductor, or C, a tram itself?
I don't think lightly that somebody who speaks with the natural brevity of the Australian tongue would extend a word tram to have 2 syllables. So I'm going to go with tram conductor because that's the longest one.
And you score all the points. Well done, Natalie. That's good. Robin, what do you think an Aussie would have meant if they described someone as a gutter gripper? Do you think it might be A, an eccentric motorist, B, a male homosexual, or C, a window cleaner, a gutter gripper?
I presume it's a driver who is overly careful and slow and grips the side of the road.
Well, you're getting half a point only, because a gutter gripper is someone who drives with their arm out of the window, gripping the roof as they drive along. And I was gripping the roof all the way here today, and I do wish my wife would have let me sit inside the car. So, finally, Milton Jones, decipher this bit of Antipodean phraseology, if you would. What is a shypoo? S-H-Y-P-O-O.
Is it this about the time I was thrown out of the coconut throwing section of the fairground?
No, but we're picturing the scene.
Or is it a bear that lives in the 100-acre wood no one's ever seen?
I'll give you some help. Do you think a shypoo might be A, a folding screen, B, an unpleasant drink, or C, a vehicle?
I think I can taste the unpleasant drink.
You can taste the unpleasant drink. You're correct. You get the points. Shypoo is a drink. In fact, it's specifically poor quality liquor, or indeed the shop from which you bought it. It's thought that the term originated from the Cantonese say po, meaning little shop. So congratulations. Actually, in my view, the only thing worse than a shy poo is an extremely confident one. A shampoo, of course, is one of those plastic ones you get from the joke shop. OK, that muddle of mellifluous mutterings brings us to the end of the show, and looking at the scores, I can see that this week's winners, congratulations, Milton Jones and Robin Ince. Milton Jones, we give the last word to you. You and Robin, you've won this week. What's the word this week that sums up the experience for you?
Survival.
And that brings us to the end of this week's Wordaholics. Will you please thank one more time our wonderful guests, Lloyd, Langford, Natalie Haynes, Robin Ince, Milton Jones. Until next time, goodbye. You've been listening to Wordaholics, chaired by me, Gyles Brandreth. It's written by John Hunter and James Kettle. The producer is Claire Jones.